Look, I have been there so many times, noticing the sun setting, realizing that I haven't actually done anything productive with my time, and now living in regret and feeling unaccomplished because it's too late now anyway, right? I've been there, man, and often, every other day actually, and it sucks. It sucked and it sucks still. And it wasn't until I actually noticed and took a deep dive in what's going on behind the scenes until I was even able to realize what had led me to those outcomes in the evenings when I felt like dog shit because I didn't get anything done, or at least not the things I wanted to get done. Because once I increased my awareness of this topic, I started to see the hidden signs of procrastination in my day-to-day everywhere. Because there is so much more to it than not wanting to do the hard work and being lazy, right? A lot more to it. And if you ask me, Jonah from 2018 would have never thought that his biggest problem was procrastination. And so, like many of you watching, I used to be a gamer, right? A gamer. I used to spend 6-7 hours on YouTube, which is just... What is that, bro? 6 to 7 hours a day on YouTube. That's the biggest waste of my life. Jesus, man. In addition to that, though, I am a concert pianist, right? And I was always a concert pianist. I grew up playing piano. And so when I started to have gigs with like 17, 18, I really was able to notice the negative effects of procrastination, but I didn't even know that it was procrastination. And this goes for anyone. Like if you're in school studying or something, that would be the same as for me prepping for a concert, right? And the feeling of dread and unaccomplishment and self-hate after putting off practicing for me, which should be in my daily regime back then, but putting it off until the last week or last couple of days and then performing way worse in the gig, made me genuinely hate myself, bro. Like I genuinely fucking hated myself. And I didn't even know why. Why am I like this? I'm so lazy. I literally thought I had a mental disorder because I just didn't seem to get shit done. I didn't do stuff. I just procrastinated, but I didn't know why. And I didn't even know it was procrastination. I just thought I was off. And that's where the sneaky procrastination demon really gets us. Because you know that you're procrastinating, but do you know why? Like, be honest, bro. Do you always know, am I procrastinating right now? Or is it some other reason? Or why am I even procrastinating? And that's exactly what I'm gonna let you in on in this video. About 95% of people admit to procrastinating, with about 25% of them identifying as a chronic procrastinator. That's almost 1 in 4 people. Like imagine how much untapped potential we have out there, lost to the abyss of I'll do it later. So let me explain the 7 reasons that you most likely procrastinate with on a daily. So number 1 is a lack of clarity. When a task is very ambiguous or undefined, it's very hard to initiate doing that task. And this can also often be described as a lack of purpose, right? Because if you have a lack of purpose, especially as a young man, trying to like become more masculine and be productive, then oftentimes you're gonna be like, why am I even doing this, man? Like, yeah, gym is kind of easy for most of us. Like we all love going to the gym, but actually starting the business, starting a brand, reading books or stuff like that, where you're like, well, yeah, I know it's productive, I'm on self-improvement, but why? Well, you have a lack of clarity, you have a lack of a purpose, and that's just a broader topic. But for specific tasks like getting an assignment done or something, when you have a lack of clarity, it's gonna be so difficult to actually start doing that task because you don't know where to start, you don't know where to end, you don't even really know the point of the whole task. And a potential quick solution for this is simply breaking down a big task where you're lacking clarity into smaller tasks, because this way you know exactly what needs to be done and when it needs to be done. You can also integrate time blocking or something in your calendar. A bigger solution is asking yourself if the task you're putting off, you're procrastinating on, is something you actually want to do, you actually like doing. Because it's similar with the purpose thing. If it's a task that you have no real interest in doing, you're gonna have a bit of a lack of clarity because your mind is gonna create resistance into actually understanding what the task is, if it's a larger project especially. And the lack of clarity is really just gonna create resistance and lead to procrastination because it's something that's maybe not aligning with your purpose and so on. But for me, for example, a lack of clarity was very prevalent, especially when I tried to start this channel, for example, the YouTube channel, because I was like, well, I have to research analytics, I have to research this, I have to know how to structure videos, I have to know how to make thumbnails, and I have to know how to edit, how do I do storytelling, how do I do sales, marketing, structure, all this stuff, overload, just entire lack of clarity. And that led me to postpone making this channel like 3-4 weeks because I wanted to start. And I remember I had like a phase where I just watched videos, and that's procrastination, bro. I learned so much quicker by doing, and if we just start doing a task, then like of course you should inform yourself, but we can all agree that productively procrastinating is a big thing, I think, especially in self-improvement communities. The second hidden sign of procrastination is perfectionism, because perfectionists often hold themselves to such an incredibly high standard, which is oftentimes unreasonable, which can then result in procrastination. And a good example out of my personal life is when I was practicing piano, and I was practicing like one piece, which is really difficult because I want to perform it. My perfectionistic ass would put off practicing, and now I know this, but back then I just thought, well, I'm not good enough, I'm bad, I'm a piece of shit. But it was just procrastination due to perfectionism, because the perfectionism that I had in my mind, well, I have to practice way too much, I won't be able to make it in the deadline anyway, it's not good enough, I'm just bad, and I'm just gonna distract myself with YouTube. And that was perfectionism leading to procrastination in my life, right? Because this delay in the task is essentially a defense mechanism to avoid failure. To combat this, it's a mindset thing, right? You have to strive for progress, and you have to strive for advancements rather than perfection and 100% completion. And I just remembered something, bro. Like, tell me if you do this too, or if you used to do this when you used to play video games. Would you obsess over completing them 100% and like not allow yourself to play other games because you haven't completed one video game fully yet and you haven't like gotten all the achievements on Steam? I would obsess over that, and little did I know that was perfectionism hindering my fun, because oftentimes I didn't even want to play the games that I wanted to like complete 100%. So you need to allow yourself to make mistakes and learn from them and strive for progress. That's simple as that. Obviously it's not that easy to just implement, but it's just very good to have awareness of it. The third secret sign of procrastination that's going on is a fear of failure in many people. It's the fear of making these mistakes, right? The fear of being criticized, the fear of being laughed at. That can all inhibit procrastination and just delaying the task endlessly, because you don't want to face that. If you potentially fail, you're going to be laughed at and so on. You just put it off endlessly. And for me, this one wasn't a big problem. But it's interesting because the next reason, the fourth one, which I'm about to tell you, is one of my biggest problems, and still to this day, of why I put off things and why I procrastinate. And it's kind of similar to a fear of failure, but it's a little different. When you have a fear of failure, then procrastination becomes a form of self-preservation. You're protecting your ego, and your mind, your lizard brain, your amygdala is telling you, no, don't do that task. Well, actually, watching YouTube on the task is a lot more productive than actually doing the task. And this can then create like a false sense of, wait, why am I not doing it? Oh, I'm just so lazy, or maybe I have a lack of clarity. But the root problem is the fear of failure, right? Bringing you to that lack of clarity. And you have to like sit and analyze, firstly, are you afraid of the task, right? Are you afraid of failing the task, more to say? And so oftentimes you have to really look at the root of the task you're doing and what it's connected to. And then you can often draw conclusions. Wait, I'm actually afraid of failing the task because it's maybe connected to a teacher or something, right? Making fun of me in front of the whole class, something like that, right? And this is also a mindset thing. This is similar as the perfectionism, but you have to view it as growth. And we all know this. The greats say this, bro. Like, if you fail and you don't learn from it, then failure is bad. But if you can learn from failure, it's the best thing that can happen to you, man. I don't know who said it, but there's so many quotes like that go something like, well, the successful guy, before he got successful, failed 1 trillion times, right? We know these are good, and that's you know, you can increase your self-confidence, your self-worth by being on self-improvement, going to the gym, joining a boxing club, making friends, being social, being good to yourself, like your inner child. And through that, you can also decrease the fear of failure that you have. The fourth hidden sign is social stress and anxiety connected to the task. And this is a huge one for me, bro. Interacting with others was never my problem, but performing for others or in front of others always gave me anxiety. Like being called out gives me anxiety. Attending a work meeting gives me anxiety. So especially a task like a work meeting or a certain call you have to make, like calling your bank. You know, I used to never call my banks because I was just afraid of calling them. I used to have my mom do it because I just procrastinated on it because I didn't really know how to call banks. I never learned it. I never did it. And so I thought it was this big daunting thing. And it transitions into my life still because I still procrastinate on errands like calling banks, calling this, calling that, calling my insurances. Because even though I'm very confident, outgoing, I don't really have anxiety like that anymore. It's still connected like that. So my mind is still, no, you have to procrastinate on that. It's a big thing, you have to put it off, right? And so a good method to practice this is to fight that resistance, right? To step out of that comfort zone. Like to actually practice exposing yourself to these scenarios. And to be honest, bro, like if you don't want to call your bank, I get it. I used to be Jeffrey, but you're fucking pussy. Just call the bank, bro. And once you do that more, you start to realize, well, they don't give a fuck about me. I don't give a fuck about them. Just trying to find some stuff out. And then over time, it's going to become less daunting and less daunting. And now, you know, I work in sales now, so obviously I don't have a fear of calling people anymore. But even back then, every time when I used to call banks and stuff, like my insurances, even when I was really young, like parents of my friends, I remember I would put it off for so long. But then after it was done, I was like, that was like 30 seconds and it was so easy. The fuck was I putting it off for, right? All right, the fifth hidden reason for procrastination: struggling to abstain from momentary pleasure. And in the self-improvement community, so if you're watching this right now, I undoubtedly know that you've heard of the term instant gratification and delaying gratification, right? But for some people like me with a YouTube, I like only YouTube, video games, easy, quit that cold turkey. Instagram, Snapchat, like social media, easy. Quit all that because I know it's a waste of time. I know it's delaying gratification and it's good for me. But YouTube is still, I struggle to abstain from it because it's so entertaining and I'm so addicted to it due to also my childhood, and it was just all I did. And so we live in this age of distraction and digital information, right? So you have to be very careful what you consume because there's so much information that we've never had before. And this constant bombardation makes it very difficult to actually sit and be with yourself and get the stuff done that you need to get done because you're procrastinating, because it's just so fun to procrastinate. It's so comfortable, it's so fun to procrastinate with these instant gratification activities that you're really gonna struggle to abstain from them at all. And so oftentimes, like for me, example, back when I was still playing video games, I knew I had to practice piano or go to the gym or get stuff done, right? Run some errands or even do some work stuff. I was a piano teacher most of my life. And I also worked in sales pretty early, like in a retail store, but it still had a lot to do with interacting with customers and stuff. And I would often be very late, like 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes late to my jobs even, because I was struggling to stop with the momentary pleasure like YouTube, video games, Netflix, whatever, right? When I was binge watching some dumbass show. And I remember I would start a task. I was playing Monster Hunter World, which is like it's my favorite game ever. I love that game because I also grew up with it and I don't play video games anymore. In the future, hey man, maybe I will. But I was playing that game and I remember I was like 18, 19 or something. I remember doing a task afterwards, but then I had the game in mind and I was just itching to go back to the game. And I barely did 10 minutes before my addiction just said, nah, it's too hard, go back to play Monster Hunter and Rathalos or something, right? And that was like genuinely a struggle. And back then I didn't know that that was just a form of procrastination, right? Because procrastinating in this context is so fun to my brain because it releases so much dopamine, video games are fun. So that doing the mundane stuff, like working on something, which is now my dopamine, but back then, like, it just seems so unappealing, you don't want to do it. A good way to counteract this is to just stop playing video games and stop wasting time. No, I'm just kidding. But like an actual realistic approach, because I know a lot of you watching this probably still play video games, or you watch a lot of YouTube like I used to do, still do actually, or you waste time on Netflix or something like that, and you're not proud of it, you're looking to change it, then my advice would be to set clear boundaries, right? A lot of people in this space, they say, no, you have to do cold turkey, quit everything at once forever. And I think that's so goddamn, it's kind of stupid, man, because at the end of the day, who's actually gonna have the willpower and discipline to do that? You should be reducing and slowly letting it fade out. Because once you replace, this is a very smart thing that I learned from a buddy of mine, you have to look for substitutes instead of removing it completely. So for example, having YouTube in the background, I now have audiobooks. For video games, I don't really have a substitute, but I would say I have working out or making progress in my self-improvement or my business. You know, we often say like self-improvement is a video game. So if you can create deadlines like, well, I'm gonna play an hour every evening or something, or 2 hours every evening with my friends, and you really stick to them, then that's a healthy thing, right? Because you can actually use that as leverage. You can be excited for it throughout the day, and you can say, well, if I can complete my work, I can really feel good with those 2 hours in this evening, or maybe even 3 for the beginning, I don't know. Or I can watch this one video on YouTube that I wanted to watch. If you are able to use it like that, that would be my advice, and then slowly decrease and get away from it. All right, the 6th hidden reason of procrastination is a lack of interest. And this is very simple, but not every task can be exciting or fulfilling, right? And so this is where really discipline kicks in. This is where I say, well, bro, you just have to do it. You have to do the hard work, especially when you don't feel like it, because having a task that doesn't interest you, which you maybe have to do, is just gonna be a hard task to do. There's no other way around it. Maybe you could try increasing your interest of the task by learning more about it, but usually that's nonsense. And so, especially for these tasks, it's super easy to procrastinate because you don't really give a shit. But if it's like a school assignment or something you really have to do, where you have no interest in, because be honest, bro, like even school stuff, you kind of have an interest in doing them. Because at least you know, well, the outcome is good, you know, good grades, good job, maybe happy parents, maybe, you know, the outcome is good, that's why you're doing it. But one practical step you can take to combat this is using rewards. For example, you can tell yourself, well, if I complete this task, which I absolutely hate this task, man, then you can watch 15 minutes of, what do they do with Pomodoro anime, right? Yeah, the Pomodoro technique would be actually applicable here with a lack of interest, because hey, like 25 minutes, even on a task that doesn't interest you, the biggest Jeffrey can do that if he knows he can watch anime after, and that's okay, right? That's all right. You can do that for these tasks that are just insanely uninteresting, but don't overuse it, right? Because I think Pomodoro is not the way to go, because it doesn't train your mind to be focused for longer than 25 minutes. And that's exactly what we want to do. We want to get rid of all these instant stimulation, overloading, bombardation activities, and actually train our mind to focus and meditate and be with ourselves and be conscious, right? And so the 7th reason of procrastination that you don't know about are distractions. And distractions are all around us, and they provide a very, very instantaneous relief from maybe a difficult task or daunting task that you have to do. And this is actually a very big one, because I don't only mean notifications on your phone, I also mean your environment and the people around you. So for example, whenever I clean up my workspace, I procrastinate less. Whenever I'm less distracted by clutter and dirt in my room or in my apartment, and now the phone is the obvious part, right? When I have my phone on silent mode, I procrastinate less. When I turn my phone on like an ugly ass light filter where it's like yellow and gray, so I don't really want to use it because it's so ugly, I procrastinate a lot less. It's a lot less appealing to look at it because it distracts me a lot less. It's very bland. I have no social media apps, so with that come a lot less distractions. And so if you can master your surroundings, like your phone, your computer, your environment, your drawers, bro, like what's in your drawers, trust me, it makes a difference. And it definitely leads to procrastination, because for me, sometimes it leads to procrastination due to distractions, leading to a lack of clarity, because in my mind, I'm thinking, in this fucking drawer, there's so much junk and I can't focus because of it, right? And so that leads me to procrastinate, because then I have a lack of clarity on the actual task that I want to be doing. So I'm like, I have to clean this fucking drawer. And then I clean the drawer with the precious time that I have, and I don't even get the task done just because this shitty ass drawer is filled to the brim with junk I don't need. And so that's the benefits of having an organized environment and being an essentialist. And so those are the 7 most common hidden reasons that are going on in the background of why you actually procrastinate. And I think this details very well that procrastination is a lot more complex than people think, and it's a lot bigger of a problem than people think, because a lot of the problems that I see in this space with productivity, mindset, organization, a lot of it is a root cause of procrastination. If people are struggling with it, because these things I just mentioned, they all lead to procrastination, and they're very varied topics, right? They're very broad topics, and there are more. Like, there's not just 7. These are the 7 most common ones. And so if you watched until here, thanks, first of all, man. Like you got better attention span than probably 95% of people. And the most important takeaway is that now you have the sufficient awareness to be aware of that you're procrastinating in the first place, because the first step of effortlessly stopping procrastination forever is realizing that you're procrastinating in the first place. And you need to be able to realize when, why, and with what you're procrastinating. And so having this awareness is going to give you a big heads up now in catching yourself, wait, I'm procrastinating right now because I have a lack of clarity. Maybe I should get a piece of paper and just write down everything again, like what I have to do for today, or break down a bigger project and task, or do like a mind mapping on a piece of paper. Because once you know the reasons for your procrastination, the hidden signs you're procrastinating, then you can start to solve them, because then you can look up, well, how do I solve a lack of clarity, right? And then you get some methods, and then you can apply those, and then you can practice and get better with that. And then whenever you realize, well, I'm procrastinating right now with a lack of clarity, whoop, you can just apply the fix, and then replace that procrastination, which is the second step, with the third step, with a more productive activity. Ideally, your task that you were about to do, or taking a walk, going to the gym, or something like that. Like, just catching yourself is so important, because that will help you not fall into this endless 6-hour binges, and then seeing the sun go down and being like, God damn. Like, when was the last time that you saw the sun go down and you asked yourself, what did I actually do today? And why did I just waste the entire day? When was the last time? Like, let me know in the comments. Because for me, it was 2 days ago. So if you've enjoyed this video, or if it's opened your eyes and helped you in any way, you can hit the subscribe button. I would appreciate that. I've also got a handy free cheat sheet in the description, which is gonna help you actually identify the 1 or multiple of the 7 reasons that we covered of procrastination, and then also give you a method you can use to combat it. It's completely free. It's just going to be sent to your email, and you can download it at PDF and then print it out. I recommend printing it out a lot of times so that you can have it next to your desk, and then you catch yourself, I'm procrastinating right now. You fill out that PDF after procrastinating, and then you have a clear roadmap in front of you, which you can use for reference and train your mind to always catch your procrastination patterns, right? And if you're wondering why it's crucial to realize that you're procrastinating in the first place and gain that awareness on the topic, like just generally gaining awareness on what even is procrastination, you can check out this video here or here, I don't really know, and be sure to check it out. It delves into the deeper details of the first step, like realizing procrastination. And remember, the journey to a more productive being starts with having awareness. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.